Hey guys, and welcome back to Rad Resellers. I'm Natalie and I'm a full-time reseller, meaning I flip items online for a profit and make a full-time living off of it. In today's video, I'm going to go over the pros and the cons of being a full-time reseller. I'm going to give you the good and the bad, and these are things that you should definitely take into consideration before you decide to try and become a full-time reseller as well. So if you're thinking about becoming a full-time reseller, maybe you're doing reselling on the side right now, part-time, or you just want to get a bit more information on what it's like to be a reseller, this video is for you. So let's just get into it. Okay, super quick about me. I've been reselling since the summer of 2020 and I've been full-time for a year and a half. I started doing it part-time while I still had my 9-to-5 job. And if there's one thing that I recommend to you, it's that you do start part-time because one, you get to know if you actually like reselling, and two, you have another job to pay your bills until you make enough through reselling. I'm gonna start with the pros, but I really recommend you to stay tuned for the cons because those are equally, if not more important to know about than the pros. The pros are all the highlights, right? But every job has cons. And with reselling, these are definitely some that you should be aware of before going into reselling full-time. Pro number one, you make your own schedule. This means that you do control your time. This means that you can change it up when you want to or when you need to. If something comes up, okay, let me just switcheroo a little bit my schedule. What I was supposed to do now, I can do later. You can also create a schedule that works around rush hours. If you're gonna drive somewhere like to the thrift stores, to the post office, you don't want to drive during rush hours. So the morning rush hour, the after work rush hour, you avoid at all costs, right? You can wake up whenever you want to, and you also decide when your days off are. Yes, you need to schedule your days off, by the way. And there is a lot of power of having complete control over your time. With that said, that doesn't mean you can do whatever you want to, whenever you want to. Just because you can, doesn't mean you should. And as a full-time reseller, if there's one thing you need in order to be successful, is discipline. Which brings me to pro number two. There is no boss above you. You are the boss. So no one tells you what to do, how to do it, when to do it, none of that. With that comes responsibility. You have to tell yourself to do things that you don't necessarily want to do. I don't want to always take photos and list them, but if I don't, I'm not gonna be making money. With no boss, you can't get fired. It's the most secure job in the world. And no more requesting time off or sick days or vacation days. If you want to take some days off, you just take some days off. Pro number three, it's cheap to get started as a reseller. You can start with your own things and clothes and post it on different platforms. All the platforms that you use, or that we use at least, eBay, Poshmark, Depop, Mercari, are all free to use. So there's no big expense in getting started. What you need is basically something to take photos with. I still use my phone to this day, by the way. So if you get a phone with a decent camera, that's all you need to take photos. And then I would suggest you get studio lights to get a nice bright lighting on the item that you're photographing. Then you need something to package the item or the clothes in. We use poly mailers or USPS priority envelopes. And then you need a printer to print out the shipping label. And that's all you really need to get started. Then you can go to thrift stores to get some cheap items to resell. So overall, it's a very cheap business to start off. Now, once you start to get into the groove of things, you start to get more things, more supplies, like more studio lights, a fabric shaver, a lint roller if you don't already have it at home. Maybe you upgrade to a thermal printer like a Rollo. That's what we have, just super convenient and a great purchase, I recommend. Maybe you invest in OxyClean for clothing, other cleaning supplies, shelves for your items, your clothing, or maybe you use bins, like a bin system for your stuff. But that comes later, after you've been into the groove a little bit and after you made a few sales and realized, you know what, I want to do this a little bit more. But getting started is really cheap. Pro number four, there is no limit to how much you can make as a reseller. How much you sell is how much you will make. There is a positive correlation between how much you list, how many items you list, and how much you make. So the more you list, the more you make. But the more you list, the more you have to thrift. And that again takes more time and just more work. and it's completely up to you how much you thrift, how much you list, etc, etc. All right, and now on to the cons. Con number 1, there is no healthcare that comes with reselling. This is a major one. You can get healthcare without having a 9-to-5 job, but that's really expensive. Luckily for me, my husband's healthcare can include me as well, so I'm still covered through his healthcare that he gets through his job. But if you're not married or you don't have anyone that can cover you with their healthcare, you definitely need to consider the expense of healthcare by yourself before going into reselling. Con number 2, there is no PTO that you can build up. So if you take a day off, you don't list, or there's a day where you don't make sales, well, guess what? You didn't make money that day. There's no, oh, let me take a 2-week vacation and get paid for it. No, you will make no money. You will have to put your platforms on vacation mode, which basically means on Mercari, Poshmark, and Depop, nobody can buy your items. They can see them, they can like them, they can share them, but they can't buy anything until you take off the vacation mode. For eBay, when you're on vacation mode, people can still buy your items, but they will get notified that, oh, the seller is on vacation and won't be back to be able to ship out your item until so-and-so date. So keep that in mind if you want to go away for more than a few days. A few days is fine, but if you go 4 or 5 days or more, you should put on vacation mode so you don't get a hit on your account in terms of shipping time. Con number 3, because this is a 100% commission-based job, your income will be unstable. By unstable, I mean you won't make the exact same amount every month, okay? Think of it as a car salesperson's job. Some months will be better than others. Some months you sell more cars or items than others. Seasons also impact your sales. I will say though, after you've been at it for a while, I'm talking over a year, and you've built up an inventory, you built up listings on your platforms, and you're basically sourcing and listing the same amount of items every day, you start to kind of reach a number where you will always be close to, unless you scale more. Con number 4. Depending on where you are located, there may be a lack of sourcing opportunity. We are very lucky with the area that we're in now. We have multiple Goodwills, we got Salvation Army, other small thrift stores, and there's also a lot of yard sales during the summertime. But for other areas, there's definitely less of that. In short, it's going to be easier if you have more sourcing opportunities around you versus if you only have 2 thrift stores in 30-minute radius. We obviously read all of our comments, and some people are commenting on how expensive their items are, or how there's just a really huge lack of sourcing opportunities near them, and it's tough. We're very fortunate in the area that we're in right now, and sometimes we just think, how do people in, say, California, whose thrift prices are up here, you know, $15 for a pair of jeans, $8 for a shirt, how do they make profit when we get all of that for half the price? It's kind of impressive, to be honest. So definitely take that into account. How much thrifting opportunities do you have? And con number 5, that may be a con or a pro depending on how you look at it, it is a lot of alone time. I'm a full-time reseller while my husband works in retail and does reselling on the side. So I spend most of my day alone. No coworkers. The only time I see people is when I go to thrift stores or the gym or the post office. So you need to be comfortable being by yourself. Do I miss having coworkers? Some. I miss some coworkers. But do I enjoy the alone time? Yes, I do. Reselling is a simple job. You buy something and you sell it for higher online and get the profit. That doesn't make it easy. If you're just starting out as a reseller or thinking about getting into reselling, I highly suggest you watch a few YouTube videos on what to look out for. That does help because you don't know anything yet. You think brands that are expensive must resell at a high value, but once you get into reselling, you will discover so many brands you had never heard about before that sells way better than the brands that you have heard about before. Reselling is a knowledge game. It's all about what you know. It doesn't matter if you pick up 100 items that don't sell, but oh, I sourced so much today. But if you don't source the right things, it doesn't matter. And that comes down to knowledge. You have to pick up what actually sells. You will make mistakes. We still make mistakes, but it's all about learning and expanding your reselling knowledge base. But alright guys, I don't want this video to be too long. I just want to go over the major pros and cons of being a full-time reseller. Anyways guys, thank you so much for watching and also just for supporting our journey so far. If you have any questions about being a full-time reseller or anything within reselling, definitely leave a comment. We may do a video on where we answer very common questions that we get. Of course, when we see your comment, we'll respond to it, but maybe doing a little Q&A type of video would be helpful as well, so you can see what other people ask. Because if one person asked it, I can guarantee you more people are wondering about it too. Drop a comment or a question in the comment section. Stay rad, hit the like and subscribe button if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.